Have you ever found yourself, deep in an English conversation, maybe feeling pretty good after learning Spanish, and then suddenly that little mental hiccup,
Oh,
like
definitely.
your brain tries to connect the two languages and just hits a kind of weird spot?
Yeah, or you hear someone say something and it sounds just a little off, but you can't quite figure out why.
Exactly. Language learning is, well, it's a journey for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there are always these specific little hurdles.
Absolutely.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into some of the most common and actually quite fascinating English mistakes that Spanish speakers often encounter.
Sounds great.
And our mission here isn't just about pointing out errors. We want to get into the why.
Right. The root causes.
Yeah, why do these happen? How can you fix them? And maybe most importantly, give you some real strategies to avoid them. Think of it as a bit of a shortcut to, really understanding these specific language challenges. And all the insights we're discussing today come from looking closely at source material called Common English Mistakes by Spanish Speakers. It's full of focused lessons and tips.
A really useful resource.
Okay, so let's kick things off. Let's unpack this whole present tense thing.
Ah, yes, the present tense puzzle.
Have you ever heard someone say, or maybe even said yourself, something like, I go to the school now, when what you actually mean is you're literally walking there right at this moment?
Oh, all the time. When the correct way is, I am going to school now.
Exactly. It seems straightforward, but why is that such a common mix-up?
Well, it's really insightful when you look at how each language treats now. In Spanish, the simple present tense often covers both habitual actions, things you always do, and actions happening right this second.
Ah, okay, so that does double duty, sort of.
Pretty much. But English, it's much fussier. It draws a really clear line. I go to school means it's your routine.
Habitual.
Right. But if you're in the act, moving, doing it now, English insists on that continuous amisar plus ing form. It signals the action is in progress.
That makes sense. That real-time versus habit distinction really shows English's specificity there.
So for our listener trying to nail this, what's the mental adjustment needed?
The main thing is to try and think in real time when the action is actually happening. If it's unfolding right now, this very second, train that reflex to grab amisar plus the verb with ing.
So less about just rule memorization.
Exactly. It's more about internalizing how English marks that immediate action, like you're painting a picture of something happening now.
Got it. Thinking in motion. And speaking of English being strict, another place its rules can surprise Spanish speakers is needing a subject. Always.
Oh, absolutely.
You often hear things like, is raining, or is cold. You know what's meant, but it feels incomplete, doesn't it?
It really does.
Why is that missing piece, that subject, so vital in English when Spanish gets along fine without it sometimes? It's fascinating, isn't it? In English, pretty much every sentence must have a subject spelled out. You just can't drop it.
Even a placeholder like it.
Even it. So, it is raining, it is cold. Spanish is often more efficient. The way the verb is conjugated tells you who or what is doing the action, so you can leave the subject out.
Right.
It's like a fundamental difference in their grammatical DNA.
So really no exceptions in English. That seems tough to internalize if your first language is more flexible. How do you make that stick?
Honestly, no exceptions for meeting a subject. It's just bedrock English structure. Subject plus verb always. And an object if needed, of course.
So the tip.
Conscious practice. Always build complete sentences. Think of the subject as a required building block for every single English statement you make. Non-negotiable.
Okay, non-negotiable subject. Got it. Now this next bit is where things can get really interesting, maybe a bit frustrating too. Pronunciation and those tricky false friends.
Yeah. Yes, words that look the same sound different.
Exactly. Words that look familiar because, Latin roots, but sound totally different. I'm thinking of common ones like hearing student instead of student.
Or job for job.
Yes, or learn for learn. Even after studying for a while, why do these specific sounds keep tripping people up?
Well, connecting this back to how we learn languages, these false friends are sneaky because your brain instinctively wants to apply Spanish pronunciation rules.
Because they look similar on the page.
Exactly. It's not just a simple mistake, it's a deeply wired phonetic habit. Our mouths are literally trained by our native language. So getting that soft is in student or the English J in Job or that or sound in learn, that takes actual physical retraining of your mouth muscles. I remember a learner really struggling with vegetable, wanting to use a hard G like Spanish gente. It's the default setting.
That's a great way to put it, muscle memory for your mouth. So, okay, listening helps, but what are some practical ways to break those deep habits? Maybe something beyond just listening.
Definitely. Pronunciation is physical. So yes, use tools like Cambridge Dictionary Online or Forvo, listen to native speakers.
Hear the target sound.
But then you have to actively mimic it, relentlessly. Guided practice helps immensely, repeating sounds, getting feedback. Think of it like learning, I don't know, a new exercise for your tongue and lips.
Like vocal gymnastics?
Sort of. Practice in front of a mirror even. See if your mouth shape matches what it should be. It's active work.
That's solid advice. Okay, moving from sound to meaning, another really interesting area, those tricky translations. Phrases that just don't map directly.
Right.
The absolute classic is, I have 30 years.
Instead of, I am 30 years old.
Exactly. What's really fascinating there isn't just the words, but the whole underlying concept of age.
Yeah, this touches on how languages actually conceptualize things differently. The grammar reflects that. Spanish uses tenor, to have, for age.
Like age is something you possess.
Right, something you've accumulated. But English consistently uses to be. Age is a state of being.
Ah, like being tall or being happy.
Precisely. You are that age. You don't have it in English. Understanding that conceptual frame can really help break that automatic translation habit.
It really makes you think about other phrases where maybe the whole concept needs shifting, not just the vocabulary.
Definitely. And my best advice here, keep a personal list. Jot down those phrases that don't translate directly.
Your own tricky phrase list.
Exactly. But don't just list them. Try to understand that conceptual difference like we just did with age. Then practice them. Use them in full sentences, different situations. Role-playing helps a lot.
Makes it feel more natural, less like a weird translation.
Yeah, it embeds it in context.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly to another common hurdle, especially when making negative sentences or asking questions. Auxiliary verbs.
The do and does confusion?
Yes. You often hear, he don't like pizza. But the correct form is, he doesn't like pizza. Why is this specific point such a persistent stumbling block? The meaning seems clear enough usually.
It goes back to those deep structural differences again. Spanish doesn't rely on auxiliary verbs like do or does for negatives and questions in the same way.
How does it work in Spanish?
You usually just put no before the verb. Simple. So learners often, maybe without realizing it, try to map that simpler structure onto English.
So they either skip the do or does or mix them up.
Exactly. They might think, why add this extra word when I have the main verb? It feels redundant from a Spanish perspective.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, what are the key patterns? How can they drill this so it becomes automatic?
The best way is pure pattern practice until it's reflexive. For questions with he, she, it, always does, plus he, shite, plus the base verb. Like, does he like pizza?
Right. And negatives.
For negatives, he, she, plus doesn't, plus the base verb. So he doesn't like pizza.
Right.
Using things like sentence-building games, quick drills, question races, dynamic stuff makes it stick better than just staring at a grammar rule. It's about building that new linguistic habit.
Making it automatic. Okay, so we've covered quite a bit. The present tense puzzle, needing that subject, pronunciation traps and false friends, those tricky direct translations like age, and now this auxiliary verb confusion. Looking back over all that, what's the big takeaway for you? How does understanding the why behind these mistakes really change things?
For me, the biggest thing is the why. Understanding why these happen because of deep grammar differences or different ways of thinking about concepts or even just how our mouths are trained. That's the real key.
Not just knowing the right answer.
No, it's about seeing the pattern, understanding the underlying reason. That empowers you to actually adapt and improve your fluency, not just memorize corrections. It's about context and recognizing those deeper structures.
Absolutely. And hopefully this deep dive has given you, our listener, a kind of shortcut to grasping these crucial differences between Spanish and English that cause these common errors.
Yeah, knowing the patterns, knowing the reasons, it equips you to navigate the language more confidently.
Definitely with more precision, too.
And that leads to maybe a final thought for you to consider.
Oh, I like a final thought.
If recognizing these deep grammatical, structural, even conceptual differences can unlock English fluency, How can applying that same deep dive method, really focusing on the why behind the what, help us master other complex things in our lives, other skills, other knowledge areas?
That's a great question. Looking for the underlying structures everywhere. Something to definitely mull over.